Hum Saath Saath is a Bollywood movie and was released in 1999. And in this movie, we follow a family that goes through multiple journeys of love, marriage, and friendship. This movie is a classic. Everybody either knows about this movie or has seen this movie. But you know about this movie for sure. I have seen this movie countless times, whether it was on DVD or whether you're on TV and it's just on, there's nothing else to do and you got 3 hours to kill. But everybody knows about this movie because when you think of this movie, this truly does define Bollywood. Like, when you think of the most Bollywood movie possible, this definitely comes to mind. Starting off with the positives of Hum Saath Saath, the cast. I mean, this cast is insane. It truly makes you realize how spoiled we were back then, that we got movies like this on the regular. That's crazy to me. And when you look at this cast, it's really big Bollywood names that are still big today, like Salman Khan, Saif Ali Khan to a degree. But what always makes me laugh is that when you look at the parents, I swear, in the 90s and 2000s, you always had like 4 actors that like interchanged and were the parents of the big family. And it always was those same people, or maybe just 2 other people, but you always saw the same faces every single time. So it brings a bit of familiarity, and it's almost like they're your parents in a weird way because of how they act. But man, the chemistry in this cast is ridiculous. They all look like they had a great time filming together, so I think that was really cool, and that's a big positive. When they look like they're having fun and actually like the script, then you as a viewer, you can't help but kind of, go along with it and enjoy the ride even more. And speaking of chemistry, the biggest aspect of this movie is love, whether it's family or whether it's relationships. And the 3 relationships that we get in this movie in terms of love stories are very well done. I love how each of them are so different. Like, they each have different personalities and there's different types of love, but they all are strong in their own way. I love every single couple. Like, what's crazy to me is that each of these couples in Hum Saath Saath could easily be in their own movie. Like, the plot lines that they have could easily take another 3 hours for an entire movie by itself. But the fact that we get all 3 in one, it's truly crazy and insane to think about it, but I love every single one of their stories, and I definitely love the characters behind them. I absolutely love the songs in this movie. I love that every single song is so good. That always makes watching a Bollywood movie so much better. I know people always ask me, like, hey, how do you get through a 3-hour movie? The music makes it a lot better, especially when every single song is really, really good. And it kind of helps that you got like 6 of the top Bollywood singers in history all together, especially in the 90s. All 6 of those singers were really on top of their game. You put them all together in one movie, that's kind of how it's gonna go. Every song is really good, and what's really important is that there's always the story progressing within each song. It's not like, I know I go on tangents like this all the time, I always talk about this in all my reviews, but I hate it when you're just in the plot and all of a sudden an item song kicks off and it has nothing to do with the plot. Every song here makes sense to the plot. It actually progresses the story and you see what's going on. However, there's one song on here that I don't like, and we never, ever, ever talk about it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. Was. Make it stop. Make it stop. I absolutely love the set designs in this movie, and I know I looked at the budget, and it's actually really big, especially for at the time, and you can truly see in the movie that they had a big budget. I mean, you're having 3 weddings in this movie, and there's always a bunch of functions going on. Like, look, we all know, in our lives, we all know that one family that's just holding an event for something. Like, even if it's not a big thing, they're always holding these big functions, and you see like 20 cars outside their house, and you get so irritated when you're coming home after a long day. You're like, bro, how many functions you gonna have? Stay home for once. But each set looks so real and so beautiful, especially when they go back to the village of Rampur. It looks really nice, and I love that the actors all interact with it to make the set come to life. It just makes the movie experience a little bit better for me. All right, now for the negatives. And there are. As much as I love this movie, I do. Man, there are a lot of problems. First of all, this movie is kind of cringe. Fans of this movie, like, no, don't hate me, please don't hate me. I love this movie, but you gotta admit, there are a lot of corny and cringy moments that you can't help but just tense up. It is a little bit corny sometimes. Like, take for instance, every time someone tells a joke in this movie or says like a wisecrack or makes like an adorable comment, you just see people laughing a little too hard, and then they always just look at the person next to them. They're always just like, it's like, all right, calm down, auntie. It wasn't even that big of a joke. It's not that serious. This is also small things I hated about Bollywood movies back in the late 90s. Anytime they did a movie about a gigantic family, there's always that one or second family friend that comes in and just explains the entire family backstory to the family. Like, bro, they know their backstory. They have lived it, but they're trying to tell the audience. They're just trying to get some exposition. Like, that friend comes in, and he clearly is like the outsider, and he's like, wow, you made a village from the ground up. You were poor, but then you got rich, and now you have all these jobs for everybody. And then you go over to the other, and then he goes over to the other person. He's like, wow, look at you. You were the oldest, but you're adopted. Why are you bringing that up in the first place? But you're adopted, and all this other stuff. The second brother, he's so quiet. Look at you. You always enjoy everybody. And the youngest, he's mischievous. It's like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, you know how annoyed I would be if somebody came to my house and started explaining my family history to me? Like, I know. It's just stuff like that that kind of makes... It just annoys me because they're treating us like we're idiots. Like, there are other times throughout the film where we could have easily figured that stuff out because they bring it up. You didn't need to bring it up in the beginning. And of course we know they're rich. Look at the house they live in. Like 20 people are living in one house. We know they're rich. You don't have to tell us. And look, here's the thing. As much as I love Prem and Preeti, I really love their relationship. I love the chemistry between them. But for God's sakes, every time Prem says something, why does Preeti act like it's like the greatest thing in the world? Like, Prem could say anything. He'd be like, hey guys, I got my laundry today. And she's just like, oh my God, Prem. Like, what are you doing? It's every time, and it's adorable at first because I love Sonali. She'll always have my heart. But it's just every single time, and it is so corny, and it is so cringe, and I just can't help but like it, but I also hate it. And look, as much as I love the chemistry between the cast, you have to admit that the actors in this movie were a little too animated for me sometimes. And it's not Hrithik Roshan and Kareena Kapoor in Main Prem Ki Deewani Ho. Not to that level, but it's kind of a lot, especially Saif Ali Khan. He does do a lot of animated, like too much. It's a little too much for me because when you look at the three brothers, you know, you got two of the super calm ones. They're always so soft-spoken. They're like, Kaise ho baba, sab say it. And then you just see Saif Ali Khan come. He's like, oh, bhaiya, wow, what's going on here? It's like, okay, all right, calm down, buddy. It's not that serious. Like, it's a little too much for me sometimes. And the biggest problem I have with this movie is the conflict they introduced to make the family separate. It made no sense. First of all, it happens in like the last 30 minutes of this movie. This is a 3-hour film and it happens in the last 30 minutes. It's like almost the writers were making this film and they realized, oh crap, we don't really have a plot yet, so we kind of have to introduce a little bit of an obstacle to make this family kind of tear apart in a weird way. It's such a bad conflict, but I'll get into it. So essentially what happens is that the mom decides to separate the three brothers business-wise. Because the eldest brother is not of their blood, she decides that, oh, you're not really part of the family, so we'll kind of separate you. That way you can just live your own life, but you'll be cut out of the family estate in a way. And then the two real sons, they'll just live their lives and it'll be all right. Here's where I get mad. First of all, that is disgusting. It makes no sense how she loves them so much and then like a small problem happens and then she just goes so overboard like that. You know what I mean? It just made no sense to me how a mom could do that to her children. And the fact that like she realized she made her mistake, they just forgive her so quickly. Like, it was just like, they hate her. They're like, how could you do this to your family? And then all of a sudden they're just like, okay, yay, we're all good. Let's all move back together. It's like, man, bro, let me tell you, if that happened to me, I would be very furious. It would take time for me to be like, at first I'd be like, all right, I'll come back, but like, I'm still gonna think about what you did there. Like, I just hate that they forgave her so quickly. Like, everybody was just okay with it. Like, the fact that everybody around this mom, her friends, her family, were all saying, why are you doing this? Clearly, everybody is miserable. You're miserable. So why do this in the first place? And she's just like, well, you know, I hate it, but like, you have to do it. No, you don't. You don't have to do anything. So I absolutely hate the problem in this movie. Like, the conflict that they introduce makes zero sense. It's awful, and it basically makes the second half of the movie completely unwatchable. And there's also small nitpicks that kind of bothered me about this movie. The biggest one was that when they went to Rampur, Salman Khan's character sees a bunch of poor people and he always wants to help them out. But that's never really addressed ever again. Like, his eldest brother just says some words of wisdom to him, and then that's just dropped. Like, that subplot is never brought up again. I don't know why you would bring that up in the first place, so it's just small things like that that could have cut this movie down to like a tight 2:30, and it would have been even better. But the fact that this movie is 3 hours long, and you had that stupid conflict it just makes things worse. Overall, guys, Hum Saath Saath Hai is a classic of a Bollywood movie. It has stood the test of time, coming out in 1999, and people are still talking about it today. The music is always iconic, but because the conflict in this movie is very annoying, and some of the characters are a little too animated that it kind of takes you out of the movie, I'm going to give it a B+. This is still a very enjoyable movie that I will always be happy to watch this film. I will never complain about watching Hum Saath Saath Hai, and I'm probably going to get my music going and listen to those songs all over again. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.